All right, here we go again. We're back with another weekly sheep farm or shill farm podcast hosted on your bullshit platform by our big shill mics with your two part chat, part spook.
Thick as mince, motherfuckers.
Thick as mince mofos, yeah. From Yorkshire. I think we're from Yorkshire. This is episode 244. The format is simple, as I keep saying. We release 4 shows a month. Members get full podcasts plus download. Non-members get part 1 plus download. All new shows are released on Saturdays and always on our private bullshit platform, sheepfarm.co.uk, where we put all the episodes on there. We also put part 1 on Podomatic that distributes it out to Spotify, Amazon, Audible, Tapple. I say we, but it's me. Anyway. I'm an inclusive. I like including everybody in it in the podcast, or our Chris anyway. Please subscribe to the website for email notifications. That's info@sheepfarm.co.uk for all new shows. You get information on anything else, live shows or like that we're doing as well, whether they're on YouTube or live audience type shows. Join us on Instagram. And yeah, remember sheepfarm.co.uk and info@sheepfarm. You can get Chris on Gaping Gobs at Etsy as well.
Yeah, on Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram. Yeah. You haven't done it on Sheep Farm merch store. I sound like I'm doing this twice because we did it yesterday, and we had a tech meltdown, didn't we?
Mic went funny.
Yeah. Well, the audio went funny. Not necessarily the mic, but yeah.
So it feels weird doing it again.
Yeah, so we had to do it. It won't be exactly the same again.
No.
You can't duplicate it exactly because it's totally unscripted. What I will say is on the website, sheepfarm.co.uk, we have put a couple of new things on there. There's a search bar now you can use. The search bar means if you put the podcast number or if you put the guest on there or like Matt Landman, all his podcasts will come up, or John Hamer or something like that, Ilana Freeland. Or if you put in the Huxley Brave New World Order, all them will come up as well. And so you can pick and choose. It'd be easier to search because obviously scrolling down 250 nearly podcasts would get rather difficult. So we invested in a search bar. Also, the video that we've been talking about for a while, people actually were asking about. We're going to be doing that. I'm going to start loading a few up and having a test run, and hopefully we'll get it out there in October. I would have thought at some point, but I'm not promising to put every. Like we're recording this now with video, but we only ever really release the audio. What I'm going to try and do is maybe every other one, maybe upload it as a video, or every now and again we'll upload a few as a video. But they'll all get released as podcasts first, anyway. So yeah, there you go. So that'll be on the Sheep Farm video player, which means we'll it's not that you wouldn't use YouTube, but all the podcasts will be available on our own platform, bullshit platform. So we'll not only have a bullshit podcast platform, but we'll have a bullshit video platform as well. I wonder if that guy who said that is living to regret actually saying that, because
hopefully finds it funny.
Yeah, hopefully finds it funny, because I actually quite find stuff like that funny.
Yeah, we like being given a catchphrase, don't we?
Yeah, I love a thick as mince catchphrase or bullshit platform, big shill mic.
Tick.
Yeah, tick. Yeah, he's actually put thought into that. Big shill mic, tick. Merch store, shit, tick. Yeah. Why do you
have to be a shill if you've got a big mic as well? Because that just means you're adapting to the situation.
Well, you can't win, Chris. So you get a microphone that obviously gives you better quality audio, and you're still a shill. If you have a shit mic, right,
you're a prick.
You're a knobhead because you sound crap. So you can't actually win, can you?
No, that's life, isn't it? You can't win. I was just watching an interesting. Just when we came on, we were doing a drawing. I hadn't done a drawing for ages because we've been busy. But I was just doing a drawing. I was watching a YouTube video, and it was a guy in Vegas, and he obviously makes. I've never watched him before. I just put it on, but he obviously makes videos about Vegas and like old stories from Vegas, and gets people to send them in, and talks about how good Vegas was, and romantic kind of stories, big wins and stuff like that. Anyway, this one I listened to, he was saying how shit it is, and he said he didn't usually do videos like this, but he's just got to keep a tab on how downhill it's gone. Right. And he was saying that the machines have been set different. They don't pay out like they used to, so there's no big wins like they used to. And then he had people writing in letters from the rooms saying the rooms are all half empty, and then saying that the customers have changed. They're really angry. They're kicking off at people over nothing. It's just interesting because I suppose that's a microcosm of, especially when you're going on holiday, and that's where you're really going to try and enjoy yourself. You know, you've invested your hard-earned cash. I just thought it was interesting.
We've just been on holiday, and when you go on holiday, it shocks me how many miserable bastards there are.
Yeah, I tell you a funny one, right? And I always find this weird. And this isn't new, but I walked up this mountain, right? Massive mountain next to where we were staying
In Greece.
It was an hour's walk up this mountain. At the top of the mountain, there was some ruins. You know me, I'm like, I fucking gotta go up there. Lou said, I'd like to come. I'm like, Lou, you don't like walking. She said, why'd you say that? It's because you don't. I know you don't like walking. I said, let's be walking. I'm not walking a fucking.
She's built like olive oil, isn't she?
Yeah. So if you don't enjoy it though, you don't do it, do you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fair enough. Anyway, I walked up this mountain, and it took an hour to walk up it. Took loads of water, sweating my tits off. Took my camera. I really enjoyed it. The ruins at the top were a bit fucking dodgy, to be honest with you. You know when you
You're wearing corduroy.
No, it's too hot for corduroy fire. We're boiling. But I walked up this zigzag road right up to the top, and it was early in the morning, and there were other people. And then, you walk past them, and you haven't seen anyone for 10, 20 minutes. You go, morning. Some people don't even say hello.
No.
I just found that odd.
They're not all from Yorkshire.
But it's not. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? It's almost like they're annoyed that you're part of their adventure going up these mountains. Do you know what I mean? And they kind of look annoyed. One interesting thing, though, is, and I've started to realise, a lot of tourist attractions are possibly dodgy as well. Because I went up this thing, you get there, you pay in, and it was really good. There was old stones, there were obviously something there. But they always have to say something's a temple, don't they? And it was just like stones. You know, and the one that they said were a church, someone had clearly put the stones together and built it. And then you're reading the plaques about the history of it, and you're just thinking, is this fucking bollocks?
Well, I don't think them stones would have stayed there for 500 or 600 years or 1,000 years, do you?
Well, no. To be fair, you could see the ground of the stone, but you could also see where they stacked them up again.
Right.
You know what I mean? The church looked virtually finished. It was only tiny. And like, this is where they praised did whatever to it. You know, how do they? As humans, right, when we fight something, we've got to say that that's what it is as a fact.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, I don't believe anyone knew what them stones were.
What about BBC Verified? We verified it with them, checked it, fact checkers.
I tell you what, I did see on fact checkers yesterday, just by coincidence, because you said we were going to do something about.
I always think of fact finders. Well, is it fact finders on Little Britain? Yeah.
Just because you said we were going to do something on 9/11, and I just saw this thing about Building 7, and I saw the fact checker thing.
Right.
And it said conspiracy theorists on Instagram have been saying that it can't have fallen down. But we fact checked it, and it did fall down.
All right.
It fell down due to debris falling from the Twin Towers.
I think we actually saw it fall down.
And we fact checked it. There was another one I should have had a look, actually. I think it fact checked the BBC thing of it falling down while it was still stood up.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that reason. Well, it's and Building 7's just fallen down, and it's still behind us smoking.
They fact checked that as well.
Oh, the fact check that.
20 years later.
What did the fact check that it actually
I didn't read that
happened?
one, actually. I forgot. I didn't read it. I was just browsing.
I don't think there's any conspiracy theory that it didn't fall, that it didn't come down, that Building 7.
No, sorry. He was saying that people said it had been blown up.
Well, there was no evidence that anything had fallen on it because it was burning from like the middle floors.
Well, and also they're the other two even are the first two buildings to ever fall down, any skyscraper to fall down through a fire.
Yeah, and
so three go down in one day, and none have ever done it in history.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, how many buildings have fallen down with something from another building falling on it?
I think there was another one went down. Didn't number 6 go down as well?
They all went.
There another one?
Yeah. No, all of them went. Every single one of them disappeared. Right. So. But yeah, I don't think it was just a loose tile or a bit of felt off roof deal or some insulation.
Asbestos.
Yeah, some asbestos. Maybe it were a bandana and a passport that demolished it.
Yeah, it could have been.
Heavy them, you know.
Yeah, who knows? It can survive an explosion. It can knock anything down.
Yeah. But...
Anyway, I just thought that thing I watched was interesting when he was saying it seemed like people's attitudes had changed as well.
Well, I mean, even our little village, right? We were talking just before we came on when you mentioned this Vegas thing. and there used to be a park, and we used to call it the graveyard as well, where there were no church there, and graveyard were at the side, and we used to play football in that. It was just a little field, wasn't it? Like, and
Oh,
in the
dog shit
90s,
as well.
yeah, and in the 90s, dog shit everywhere. And in the 90s,
And a stray wild dog that used to get you.
but in the 90s, if you're running around, a dog used to run out and bite your leg.
Run bite you.
Yeah.
Nobody know about it.
So we had a park across from Swan Pub, and next to the graveyard, a little field where there used to be a church, and loads of kids used to play football, and we're either playing in there or playing in park, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or down woods.
Or down in woods. And then council in the 90s put a load of trees in the park and the graveyard. So nobody can play in there now. Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
It used to be full of kids. Even early 90s used to be, up to early 90s used to be full of kids.
I don't think it would be there anymore.
No, and that's what I'm trying to say. So they've actually built more houses, but you see less kids.
It's weird, isn't it?
And we were talking about where we used to work next door to our, where our mum used to work there, Old Golf House Hotel.
We all worked there.
Yeah, apart from my dad.
Yeah.
He used to come in shouting and bawling.
Yeah.
But
he was that busy. I was a car park attendant.
The car park attendant, because the car park was absolutely rammed. People parking on the road. I was night porter. Night fridge eater. Nobody were around.
Then I ended up being a waiter there as well.
Yeah. But the rooms, it were full all week.
Yeah.
7 days a week, it were full of like salespeople, whatever, traveling salesmen, that type of thing, workers. And
it were party place at weekend, and it was workers during the week.
He had a decent restaurant, etc., etc., and bar snacks and all that. But that wasn't the only one. Swan Pub, Wagon and Horses, all these pubs.
It's pretty in that village.
Yeah,
on a Sunday, packed.
Absolutely.
Where did those people go?
And there were less people there, but you saw more people. How weird's that? And so going back to Vegas, that is actually what's happening, isn't it?
And then COVID was just a Chuck Norris Roundhouse kit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, I've worked in the catering industry my whole life. It was already on its ass because it taxes and stuff, getting taxed to fuck. I've said before on here, when we were kids, people who owned a pub were usually the richest guy in the village, weren't they? Or they had a bit of swank, didn't they? A bit more than most people.
Yeah, they had a jag or something, didn't they?
Yeah. And then going up to even before COVID, 10 years before, they were struggling
and longer.
You couldn't make money like you used to do out of beer and booze and stuff. That's why a lot of places went to food. There's a bit more profit in it.
Yeah, but even that's
not its ass now because they put the minimum wages up so high. No one can afford. You can't afford.
That council tax gone up. Everything's increased. Everything increased in value, in price and cost, but the actual service has decreased in. You just don't get the same for your money anymore.
Well, most places you go to, they're just churning out shit because they can't pay the staff. They're just doing food that anyone can fucking cook. Yeah. There's no skill. They don't want a skill factor there. You got most places now. I mean, if you go to a pub, you get a burger. It's like 18 quid. A little shitty burger, even a veggie burger, and chips.
Yeah,
does that work? And it's not good.
No.
If you think next door, when we grew up in like that village in Outland, next door in the golf house, because I were mates with the two James and Adam, so I used to stay there with them sometimes, and they did frog's legs, and quite elaborate food.
I remember doing quail and
they did quail eggs, quail,
teal,
frog.
Which is it? Keel, which is basically crow, isn't it?
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I remember him doing that, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Crow. Do you want to try some?" I went, "Do I? No."
Can you imagine? I mean, but that's high end cooking. That is because James, my mate, he loved he was always eating the frog's legs.
Right.
He'd get frog's legs and chips for his lunch. I'm like, fucking hell.
Didn't do it for me.
No, it didn't do it for me either. Try it once. Point is though, where would you get something like that now?
No, Kentucky.
Human burger at Kentucky.
Human burger at Kentucky. McDonald's man burger.
Yeah. Fucking hell. World's gone mad. I was also watching a thing about fake fish as well. How a lot of fish they pass off as other fish, and it's fake.
Yeah.
It started with crab sticks, didn't it? It started with crab sticks, didn't it?
Yeah.
Now they've got to call them crab flavoured sticks.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but Frankie and Benny's, I think they've got shut down now. They got done for selling crab sticks as crab.
Right.
I didn't know that. I think that's why they vanished. It was shit that in places, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't like all that American diner type shite.
No.
It wasn't, not Frankie and Benny's, TGI's, is it?
That weren't too bad. Frankie and Benny's like a poor version of it.
Right.
I think so. I think so. Anyway, I think so.
Yeah. And again, intro's 15 and a half minutes long.
Right.
Just
because we're doing it a different day.
Yeah, I know. We're recharged now from doing an hour and a half.
Another thing I saw the other day, I've seen a couple of things about which coincides with what we were just talking about, is, and Lou told me this ages ago, I didn't know this, that Disneyland, 2/3 of the people that go to Disneyland haven't got any kids with them.
Right.
2/3 of the people are adults going on their own. So they've remarketed it now. So you can go to Epson Centre and see fireworks go off.
Epcot.
There's a Epcot Centre. Yeah, Epcot Centre. I've never been.
I've never been.
And there's a cocktail bar there now.
Right.
So they're now started aiming at adults. But you think all those kids that grew up with the Disney magic, kids aren't that bothered these days, are they? They've got older. And one of these videos I was watching was on about the kiddification of adults, yeah. And it is, isn't it?
Yeah. And also they've got no kids.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Strange,
More to the point, they've no children.
And these places aren't as busy as they used to be.
No.
Makes you wonder where everyone went.
Trump will sort it all out. Operation Warp Speed.
Operation Screw America.
How can I'm not just battering Trump, they're all twats, but how can anybody trust anybody who's orange with white eyes? It looks like he's been looking through one of them joke pair of binoculars, but they made his eyes white instead of black. What's all that about?
I don't know.
What it looks like, right? It looks like, do you know when people used to go to sunbeds and put them things over their eyes?
Yeah.
Them weird,
yeah.
like...
I worked with a girl once,
glasses.
And she said she got in a sunbed for the first time, and she thought she put them on her tits.
Hey, whatever works, man.
She thought it would stop her boobs burning. She put them on her nipples.
Right.
This girl used to work. We said that. Why would you tell everybody that as well?
It's a good story, isn't it? Yeah. Thanks everybody for ordering Elf Bunker products. Remember, use the promo code. I'm going to be running a special offer this month on the Elf Bunker's Lipsomals with about 17.5% off for kids back to school. There's the kids multivitamin on there with strawberry flavour. It's really
my
nice.
My nipple loves that one.
Yeah, it's really nice, and the vitamin C tropical fruit flavour. And the magnesium, I think there's an offer on 3. My son's been dealing with it, but yeah, I think you get 17.5% off. I might come up with an offer for all 3 if people buy all 3 as well. Yeah, anyway. Also, one thing I want to add here, right, is we don't normally get a lot of crap comments and stuff like that or emails, but, every now and again you get one or two when you've done a podcast with somebody slagging a guest off because they don't agree with them or what have you. I don't understand it, mate, because I'm a member of a few podcasts, Crow, ISI Chats Out with Chris, a few different ones that we're members of. I've never emailed anybody. And I don't watch them all. I look at some of them and think, I'm not into him or her or whatever. I won't email somebody and say, I'm not listening to you anymore, and I'm a member. So it gives me the privilege to basically slag everybody off. Because 5 years ago, he mentioned viruses or some nonsense that I don't agree with. And that gives you the right then to email in or leave a comment. And I think somebody left a comment about Alan Watt being interviewed by Alex Jones. And it said Alex Jones is basically a shill or whatever he said he is. And Alan Watt, that means Alan Watt is. And I'm thinking, well, if you listen to Alan Watt, forget Alex Jones for a minute. If you listen to Alan Watt, I've ever listened to anything that he said and thought, well, that doesn't make sense.
No.
So I struggle with that one, to be honest with you. I struggle with that type of mentality. I've got nothing in common. Personally, I've got nothing in common with them people. You might as well have had 10 jabs as far as I'm concerned. I'm being serious because I've got nothing in common with them. That mentality, I couldn't be around people like that who were who have that type of mentality. I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. I hope they have a good life, but I don't understand that type of mentality at all. It's very closed off mentality.
Speaking of Alex Jones, I just watched. Where did I see it? I saw a bit of a video of him. He's fallen out. I have to say, he just looked like he's gone total WWF on it. When he's
Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Well, I could never really listen to him. To be honest with you. He did some good stuff. I've still got some DVDs from 2000s in my garage.
What was that film he did? That Police State one or something?
Yeah, please.
He
did a few. I thought
he wasn't as Larry either, were he?
I think he was always mouthy. That's why I couldn't listen to him. Really.
But on those documentaries he was pretty calm and just read them out quite well.
Yeah, that type of stuff he did. But it's when he becomes that evangelistic preacher.
This thing, I don't know what he's fallen, but I don't know. I saw him ranting around, and I just thought, this is not real. I'm not looking at reality here. I'm looking at some weird stage show.
Yeah,
that's what my instinct told me anyway.
But unless you're doing new stuff all the time, new research, what have you got left to talk about? I mean, if he supports Donald Trump, and yet he knows that he's not doing what he said he was doing. So if you're into this, you've got to know that there's a shadow government or shadow cabal behind the scenes that are controlling these people. Because if you think Donald Trump's the guy and he's Mr. Peace, and yet what's stopped?
It also logically doesn't make any sense that one human being has apparently been chosen by the populace to run an entire country. If it is true, if that is true, it shouldn't happen because it doesn't make any sense, does it?
No,
it makes no sense at all.
No,
it's
bollocks, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's just as much as it is queer Stalin, he didn't run the country either. He's answering to people. And I think at the top table they'll be looking down, and they don't care because they know exactly. They've set the plan out. It's like they've set the plan in, and it takes like an oil tanker. It takes 4 years for it to slow down, and then the next part starts again. You know, and that plan is in motion. And as soon as they did 2020, whatever everybody thought, it is different now. I'm sure it's very similar to when people. I'm not saying it was the same thing because it wasn't, but World War I, World War II, when you've been in that for 4 years, right? When you come out on the other side, you're not going to remember what it was like in 1938 from 1945, are you?
But that's probably part of it, like a shock, like an electro shock to the nation to just forget how it used to be.
Yeah,
9/11 was the same, wasn't it?
Yeah, 9/11, but 9/11 were like a mini thing where it just didn't feel the same after that. Probably Princess Diana was the same as well, but it just knocked you off a little millimetre.
Well, 9/11 more because
9/11 definitely more.
But there was an actual physical difference because they did change things, didn't they? You know, you're not allowed to do this. People watch people with bags and stuff. All that seemed to go away all of a sudden when news stuff started.
Not only that, 9/11 actually had an effect in different countries, didn't it? Because they directly went. For instance, what's happening in Palestine at the minute, and if that was Iraq invaded Kuwait, right? And within how many weeks did they get an army together to go and invade Iraq in 1991 or 1990?
Well, look at that though. Syria, they sacked Syria. That was the end. That was the end of the. Well, Iran's the end, actually. The announced axis of evil, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which were literally people who weren't involved in the World Bank.
Yes.
They're all evil.
Are Israel involved in the World Bank?
I don't know.
That were a joke, by the way.
I think there's only Iran and North Korea left. No one even knows if North Korea exists.
Well,
Dom Jolly.
Again, we're yapping on out here, but in my Zahawi, so I'm on with Zahawi at the minute in the book, and going back through his, like his grandfather was the governor of the Bank of Iraq, put there by the British state.
Of course you were. They all were.
So he was put there by the British state, and the dinar, as it was, the Iraqi dinar, the notes there. He had his face on the notes. Did Zahawi's granddad?
They were all put there, weren't they, by the British? Even who was that big African one who used to? If you look at them, they all wear British military outfits as well.
Yeah,
all those so-called dictators. They all want to be part of the. They all want it to be part of the crown, don't they?
Mm.
What was his name? That beat Idi Amin, was it?
Yeah, Idi Amin. Yeah,
he made a nice Hollywood film saying that he cut his wife's head off and stuff.
Yeah, Last King of Scotland. What it
That
called?
was it. Last King of Scotland. Yeah.
What a strange title.
And I'm starting to think that possibly that was a propaganda film.
I thought that
Didn't make any sense, did it?
No. So anyway, just going back to emails, I just want you to bear in mind, if you send any emails in, slagging guests off, or basically just being abusive, the first person that sees those emails is my daughter-in-law. Just bear that in mind. So anybody, we're not. I'm not. And no, Chris would stand for. I'm not the brunt end for anybody who's having a bad day, and it's happened a few times. Who's having a bad day or a bad week, and you think you can take it out on people, because that's not right. And I'm not going to. I won't mention names or do anything. People know when they've put some crap on there or sent an email in. That's your choice, but it'll get deleted. And if anything else, I have deleted accounts and just given people the money back.
I don't think you should read them, Fat.
I don't read them at all. It's every now and again, Chris. It's every now and again. I just think, well, it's pointless. I don't read them at all.
Just tell Loz not to send them to you. Send them to me.
Well, she didn't actually send me that. I were on holiday, and I thought I'll just look at some emails. That were it. And sometimes I send emails from there, so you go in and you read them, and I just find it. I find it odd. I find it strange behaviour. Me, very small-minded. Anyway, our guest is Sean Young from Life in the Mix. He's got a YouTube channel called Life in the Mix. He hosts a show, I think, live every Sunday at about 8 o'clock. It's around about 8 o'clock every Sunday. His website is the bridge life in the mix.info. The bridge life in the mix.info. And we've been going to get a podcast on since about May, haven't we, Chris?
Yeah, it was a good one.
Jeff's been nagging us like his mum.
It was good. It was a good chat.
Jeff Barber, that is. Yeah, we had a good chat with Sean for about an hour and a half. So it's going to be quite a long podcast. I think it'll be over 3 hours anyway, because we did an hour and a half on the other day as well. And now we've done this short intro. Right, I'm going.
Just before we go, I would say to you, I dropped my nipper off at the library today, and there was a book about science,
right,
or whatever. I'm guessing age at like 7 or under, and I just had a quick flick through it, and it had first page, things that science have helped us with, and it had dinosaurs,
right,
rocket ships. We need to go to space so we can come up find more.
So two things that never happened, yeah.
Yeah. Then it had a bottle of, these were the drawings, and then there's a bottle of pills in another circle saying, before pharmaceuticals, basically, over half the population was killed by viruses.
Right, okay, brilliant.
Right,
yeah.
Just make that up and fucking stick that in there for kids to learn.
Yeah.
And then, what was the other one? Oh yeah, and then it mentioned jibby jabs. And then I looked through it, I found the bit on the doctor bit, and then it had a little circle with COVID-19 in it, and it said in 2020 there was a deadly virus that spread over the world called COVID-19 that killed millions of people. Millions of people were saved by the vaccine.
We're going to try this, put this on YouTube, but not now.
Why don't you tell me that, you knobhead? Anyway, I just thought it was interesting. We talked about this.
Knobhead.
We talked about this with Sean a little bit, but
yeah, we did.
The whole book was fucking lies.
Yeah,
and it's in the kids' library.
But Chris, they did go to the moon. They definitely went.
And the vaccine saved millions of people.
Yeah.
They've even said it didn't save anyone.
I know.
Well, they haven't said that, but it was ineffective. So how did it save millions of people? Literally living in a world of lies, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
You realise it more and more every day.
And that's why, going back to those emails, why get so irate?
We're all pulling at straws trying to work things out.
Yeah,
there's no need to get nasty with people, is there?
Well, not just that though. There's no need for you as an individual to get that frustrated because you ain't changing shit. Whether you like to think you can and can't, and we're all powerful and all this, and maybe we'll all get together, and maybe everyone will wake up and see the light, and it ain't gonna fucking happen.
Well, it's like we were on
accept
about
it.
Alex Jones. I don't know if he's real or not, or he's been got to, or what the hell. But I don't listen to him anymore, so I'm unaffected. But that early stuff he did some good stuff. And like I say, got Alan Watt on there. He was the one who basically discovered Bohemian Grove, I think, if I remember rightly. All that early
Alex
stuff
Jones,
was,
yeah.
all that early stuff was very interesting. I mean, I used to listen to him, and then he started ranting, and I'd kind of tune out a little bit. But now he's just ranting all the time, and now I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe
I don't listen to ranters, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
It's not my
exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
But and I'm not saying
But
they've got the
also,
place.
I'm not
they've
going to
got the
run
place.
around calling him Michelle because I don't know.
No,
I ain't got a clue.
and I don't care.
I don't care.
More to the point, I don't care.
It's exhausted, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, what gets me is, right, if you start something up, right, all of a sudden, you're a shill. But yet when nobody starts something up, why ain't anybody starting it up? It's like in 2020, when nobody spoke. And then you've got people who did speak out, who were famous, right? They're shills. So they can't win. Nobody can win.
Yeah, but you did that with John Campbell.
Well, he is. But no, I don't. To be fair, I don't think he is. I think he's just an average guy who. My problem with him, with
no, I know what your problem was.
He called himself a doctor, and he weren't a doctor of medicine. That was my problem. He was a nurse, and he's calling himself doctor and leading people down the garden path that he was a doctor of medicine.
Well, yeah, I don't think anyone in a position of where people listen to should be telling anyone to take something when they don't know.
If he was a doctor, right? If he was Dr. Schillery, for instance, right?
Oh, you trust that one?
No, it's not that I trust him. At least he's a fucking doctor, and he's working for the pharmaceutical. At least he's less of a moron than that guy, because at least you know he's a twat. I mean, I have no problem with the guy, John Campbell, but he pretended he were a doctor, and he ain't a doctor of medicine. He's a doctor of marketing. That's the problem I had with him. And he was telling people to get jabbed, making out he would. Or he didn't actually say he were a doctor of medicine, but people would have assumed he was.
Right, yeah.
Until I looked into him, I thought he was.
Yeah.
Not that I was taking any notice of him, really, because people were saying, "Have you seen this guy?"
I never saw him until after he switched.
And you know what? It's strange how many people quote him, you know. I see him on quite a few stuff, you know. I know Ed spoke about him, saying he's massive, a redemption and stuff like that. I mean, if you think about him or any of these people that told people to get these jabs who had an audience, how many people's actually died through their wrong advice? Schiller,
look at that on like ITV.
But he's part of the system.
TV.
But he's part.
But I mean, being on national TV, and you've built that trust up over all those years.
Well, there's a few. There's say Campbell. There's Asim Malata, right? They had audiences, and
is that the guy who's... Pardon? Is he working for Trump now?
Who?
That's
Asim Malata. I don't think so. No.
The Asian guy, doctor,
English guy.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's working for Trump.
I'm pretty sure it's him. You know, he's on their board of something. I've totally got that wrong.
Doubt it. No. But he might be. I don't know. But here, look, he's come out and realised what he said were wrong. But that's fine. I've no problem with that part of it.
But he's still pushing normal jibber jabs?
Not anymore, I don't think.
Am I getting confused with someone else? I think I am.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting confused. I'll have to have a look.
Yeah. All right then. Anyway, before we go around in circles of self, at least, Nurse Gladys is actually telling people now the truth. But I mean, you know,
everyone's got their act.
But when you were talking about that, when you mentioned those words, and I said, we're going to put this on YouTube. I will put it on YouTube, but I don't know. I still don't know if that'll stay on, even though we weren't slagging anything off, right? He talks about it all the time. He's got 2.5 million followers.
Yeah, it's weird. Isn't
Don't understand how that works.
It's
not long ago that I had a video banned, and we hardly spoke about anything. Me, you, and Mark Devlin did a video, and it got banned more or less instantaneously.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? Well, maybe it's not down to him. Maybe it's just whoever runs it.
Maybe it is allowing him
Wants
to
to keep
do
that
it.
running. Yeah. Like
We will never know. Do you know,
fringe,
I can't waste my time on people like that who, but you know, when people say, "Oh, he's this and that and other," so what? I don't listen to him. I don't care. He doesn't influence me.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. You know.
Well, at the live show, I think I got told about 3 or 4 different separate people who I said, well, that just about covers everyone we spoke to.
Yeah, and not, but not only that, we get called it. Hence why we say big shill farm, big shill mics, and bullshit platform.
Yeah.
So
And
how many
Masons,
people?
because his dad were a butcher.
And it's not a right lot different from. Yeah, yeah. How does that work? I don't know. But probably because they wear aprons. Yeah. Oh, it's a dead giveaway, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a strange scenario when the actual people are turning on themselves.
Mm.
And that's why on here I will never ever politicians, yeah, fair game as far as I'm concerned, yeah, but I'll never ever slag people who are doing podcasts off.
No, except for what's his name?
Russell Brand.
No, I'm not going to say him actually. Who is it? Richard Hall's ex-mate.
Oh, yeah, Slanders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turncoat rap boy Slanders. Slag him off a bit.
But that's different. He's not on our team now.
No. That's an operation, that is.
Certainly looks that way. In fact, I think that is quite a blatant one. I mean, he's not only turncoated, he's actually working for BBC, so...
Yeah. It's quite interesting around that time, though, because I saw a few of them these podcasts pop up like that.
Yeah.
I've talked about it before. like the, jolly thing, I don't want to bring that up again, but because they all said the same thing as well, like it were off a script.
Yes.
You know, conspiracies used to be fun, but now they've got dangerous. That we're always in the middle of it. Some of them were American as well. Yeah. You were that kind of...
Well, again, like in part 2, when we start talking about... I won't discuss it on here, about the new chickenpox jibbery jabbery, where that video of that guy who you wanted to chin.
I thought about that after. I get quite annoyed, but I get quite angry in part 2.
Well, in your mind, he's jabbing your kid.
Yeah, well, yeah. I feel angry now.
But yeah. Anyway, I'm going. This is going to be an hour on its own. This. Yeah. All right then. We'll see. We'll see in a bit. We better not do this again. I'm going to have to make sure the system's working all right. Otherwise, it'll end up being a 10-hour podcast. It's only a slight intro. This. Yeah. All right. I hope you enjoy this.
37 minutes long.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy this podcast we're doing with Sean. He's probably asleep now.
Get on with it.
If you joined us in part 2, we'll see you there. If not, we'll see you next week. Bye. All right, here we go again. This is episode 244, I do believe. 244, yeah, 244. Chris is writing that down now just to check, just to make sure I haven't got it wrong.
I am. No, I'm not. I'm just writing it down for me because I know.
Right. Today, you'll have got it with the intro that we have done. We've got a mate of ours, Sean, who we've been trying to get together for, well, probably since May, haven't we, Sean?
We have.
And Sean has a YouTube channel called Life in the Mix, which he hosts a live show every Sunday night, among other things. Am I right there, Sean?
Yes, you are indeed.
Right, good. You were looking at me then like I got something wrong there. I don't know.
No, I was looking up on here because it come up and said, "Is recording." I thought, oh, do I have to press that off? And yes, I do, because I can't see anybody otherwise.
Right. There you go. So, welcome, Sean.
Well, thank you very much. Sean. Nice to see you again, both of you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Nice to see you, mate. Yeah. That's a nice white, clean shirt, that as well.
Thank you very much. It's my boss shirt.
Right, the boss shirt.
Crisp, is that?
Yeah. I get told off for buying good shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who tells you off?
I get told off on my live stream sometimes. Do you know they're elite? And I say, well, yeah, they make good shirts, so I don't really.
Yeah, well, they did. They make good Nazi shirts, didn't they?
Yeah. They did, yeah. Hilfiger did anyway. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not the same guy.
Guy with toothbrush moustache. The main model. Yeah. I think if we get hung up on what stuff we're buying a lot, we'll never do anything in this life, will we?
No, because you cannot spend money today and it not benefit the people that you don't like.
No.
They control everything.
Yeah.
So don't waste your time.
We were just talking about me buying a new computer. I've just bought an Apple computer. I've never had one before.
It's Apple.
Yeah, which I mean, literally, has got a massive apple with a bite out of it, and all etc. everything else. But what the fuck are you going to do? There's no, we'd have a, you know, you got to be in it, but not of it, haven't you? You got to just get on. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing these podcasts, will we?
No. I remember. This is going to sound a bit proper 80s racism, really, which we got at school. But there was a lad in our class called Salim, and he had to do a talk on. He wanted to do a talk on astronomy. And English teacher said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "I'm going to do Patrick Mori. Because when you do eclipse, it's like big bite out of apple." We were all pissing ourselves, man. I don't know why I just remembered that. But I'll never forget that. We're all rolling round in class.
Have you thought of it like this? Okay. Apple. Everybody, you see Apple and everybody, oh, Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
A prime example of the programming of the subconscious.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. It doesn't say apple anywhere in any Bible.
It doesn't. Fruit.
It says fruit.
Of the fruit, yeah.
But the program that the religion stuck down your neck or into your subconscious as a kid or at church, the image that comes together, if you can read Adam and Eve 1,000,000 times, and every time you come to that, you'll see apple. That's how they program the subconscious as a child. And so no matter how many times you read that, your conscious mind is reading the words, but your subconscious is giving you the image. And you'll see apple.
It's a good point, like John.
But probably likewise with Snow White, isn't it? Because that's the one thing in Snow White.
I think that's more the point, isn't it? That's why they use the apple as something else other than the Adam and Eve story. They've just implanted it into the Adam and Eve story for some reason. But you're right, even in a lot of art, it's an apple, isn't it? It's never anything else. And it's all it is a forbidden fruit. It's not, didn't explain what it is, actually.
Even the Beatles, they had apple, didn't they?
Yeah.
Apple corpse, wasn't it? As well.
Yeah, apple corpse.
Yeah.
Because
corpse.
It works with the subconscious program. If you were to use fruit, nobody would be like, what? Apple? Adam and Eve. It's a program, and it's what's installed in the subconscious. This is what people don't realize. It's not the conscious mind that you're dealing with when you're trying to evolve in yourself. It's the subconscious that you have to reprogram. So that's what's running your being down here. And that's why after 7 years old, you're running on that subconscious. And whatever's put in your subconscious from 0 to 7, there's your grown-up, there's your adult.
Hence why all kids' pajamas have dinosaurs or rocket ships on them.
Exactly. The new creation story.
Mine had Linda Lasardi.
Oh.
Honestly, I've got.
Oh, what a girl! My ex-wife just looked like her. I think there was something going on there subconsciously.
Yeah. We implanted it. You're looking at those booby pages. Page 3's when you were a kid. But I've got a 7-year-old, and every pair of pajamas, I noticed in pajamas and jigsaws. If you buy a jigsaw for a kid or a pair of pajamas, it's always a rocket ship. Well, now it's unicorns as well and rainbows.
Wonder why.
Implanting that in kids' heads.
You want to know why? I'll tell you exactly why.
Go on.
The Noahide Trust.
The what?
The Noahide Trust.
What's that?
Okay, so where do we start? So basically, all our estates are being hijacked. All right. So no longer man.
For all the listeners, Chris doesn't understand this side. I've done quite a lot of research on this, so you might. I know it's a difficult one, Sean, because once you pull that manhole cover up, it means you've got to go from beginning, doesn't it?
I've heard the word, but if I'm honest, I don't know what it means. If I'm honest,
where do you want me to start with it?
Just give us a basic outline, or from Noahide Trust. I've heard the word. I don't know what it means.
Right. Basically, the West was a civilization, and it was run from Ireland originally, the Druids. Persia was always an empire. The Persians began to invade everywhere and knock off civilization, basically. And they did this through lending interest or compound interest loans, which means it's interest on interest, which means you're never going to pay it back. So just to be quick on it, basically, the Venetians who were the moneylenders pre-1000 AD. So they'd sort of formulated the banking system about 900 AD. And they destroyed Byzantium, which was the Eastern Rome, and determined to take over Western civilization through lending credit. And all our monarchs across Europe built on the gospel doctrine, which is where you get all this beautiful architecture that they've been destroying for 200 years across the world, because they want us to believe that we're evolving rather than the fact that we were way, way ahead of the game back in the day, and that this new system that they put in the Noahide is something better. So they chose to do that by subversion. Now, back in the day, the monarchs were set up in relation to a people, a nation, who offered their dominion rights, given to you in Genesis 1 by the Heavenly Father, into trust with a monarch. Each nation had its agreed terms, i.e. common laws, and in offering up the sovereignty to the king's job was to govern in accordance with those common laws, the whole nation. And that's what kept it protected. Now, when you look back in history, there's a certain group of people that kept getting kicked out of nations.
Yeah, I'm aware.
And that's because as each monarch got into a bit of trouble one way or another.
They seem to be causing a bit of trouble still. That
Well,
group of people.
This is the finale. What we're suffering now is the finale of what has been done over 1,000 years. And so as monarchs got in trouble, maybe through war or whatever, if they couldn't tax the nation enough to satisfy whatever it was, then they'd go and borrow off these purveyor compound interest. And then the purveyor compound interest would be getting in, aristocracy would be owing him money, so they would start to take over property and land. Not own it, but take it over in trust. The king's job, being the holder of our sovereignty, had no choice but to kick him out. That was his job. And this is why you see these people being kicked out right across history. There's a reason why they've been kicked out, and it's exactly because of that.
And also, can I just clear up? We're not talking of every one of these people. We're talking of an elite group of them that probably hide behind the rest of that religious base, don't they?
Well, they don't just call themselves Jews. I mean, whichever country they're in, they'll give themselves that name.
Well, the strange thing is, Sean, in one of the chapters of my book, I'm writing a few chapters. One of them is about Nadim Zahawi, who we did a release on about 4 years ago. His grandfather was the governor of the Bank of Iraq, and he was buried in Israel.
He's buried in it, yeah.
So there's a large proportion of he's a Kurd. There's a large proportion of Kurds who are who follow Judaism.
You see, the problem is, where we don't understand it properly is it's not just Jews.
No, it isn't.
So the Holy See families. So we're looking at Medici, we're looking at Orsini, we're looking at Palafacini, Farnese, Borgia, Breakspear, etc. Okay,
They're the Venetians.
These are the Venetian bankers.
Yes.
All right. Now they claim origin from Persia. They use the term Iran today because that's what we reference as Persia, but actually they're from Babylon. The Babylonian Empire.
And now we know why these countries' names are being rebranded, i.e., Iran, not Persia, for instance. A lot of these countries have been renamed, haven't they, to hide the fact of what their origins were.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
this bunch of moneylenders that were Venetians, gets interesting as well when you get into Genghis Khan, because Genghis Khan was either a vassal of the Venetians or the Venetians were a vassal of Genghis Khan. Because when they got to Europe, he stopped and halted. And that's where the agreement had been made that they were going to just take over Western civilization by subterfuge. The guy was unstoppable. Unstoppable. And this idea we have that he was a Mongol, again, it doesn't seem to bear fruit when you get into a lot of the older histories and accounts of Genghis Khan. He was actually a ginger guy with green eyes. That one out, you know.
Genghis Khan.
Yeah. I'm sure he won't call Ginger Khan.
It could have been, actually.
Is it also, could it be possible, Sean, that Genghis Khan worked quite the evil that was portrayed as? Because it's funny that he apparently tried to conquer the world and he was evil. Alexander the Great were all right. But you know what I mean? It's like they choose who tries to take over colonize the world, whether they're good or bad. But Genghis Khan, for some reason, gets a rap of being
Choose a baddie.
Yeah.
Well, it's because of the way he dealt with everybody. He just slaughtered everybody, and some of the means he had to kill him for were disgusting and not nice. The Persians have always been a bad lot for the way that they deal with people. And Vlad the Impaler, what he did, he just said, right, I've had enough of this. I'm going to do to you what you do to us. And he impaled a huge cohort of Persians that were trying to attack Europe on spikes. And all he was doing to them what they do. And that actually stopped the next bunch from actually traveling further into Europe. So he got a bad rap because he was a complete lunatic.
So this is just a repeat of history, isn't it? Being like the Crusades. I mean, George Bush said they were going on a great crusade. What's happening now in Palestine, where the poor Palestinians, I'm sure they're not all nice people there, getting bombed to shit there and flattened. It's just a repeat, isn't it?
Why does Egypt or Lebanon or Saudi Arabia why don't they take in Palestinians?
Yeah.
Because the Palestinians are all the criminals from all the areas. And if you've actually looked at the way they bring the kids up, they are a carbon copy of the people that call themselves Jews in Israel.
Yes.
They're the same. And if you go away like attracts like, then you've got two bunch of the same kind of mindset opposing each other in that particular area.
Yeah.
How can it be anything other than
trouble?
What we see. The problem we've got today is all these people are being thrust across Europe as refugees. Well, they only know one thing.
War.
War and pain.
Yeah.
And that's all they know, and that's all they're going to bring over here. It's the same with the Afghans. I mean, back in the day, I knew a lot of Muslims. They were good friends of mine. Once you get the religion out of the way, once the cultural difference out of the way, and you're just men, we trusted each other, and we taught each other about our individual cultures. And at the same time that was going on, I had a friend that came over from Bradford, and they were having a massive problem in Bradford. So this is about 2004, 5. They were having a huge problem because the Bradford were being flooded by Afghan Taliban. And George Galloway was running Bradford, and he was covering this up. So what were going on is these Afghan Taliban were coming into Bradford, killing the Muslim drug dealers, and taking it over and opening up a new network directly from Afghanistan.
Which they would do because that's where it were all grown.
And that's where George Galloway comes into play. He was covering it up. So I hunted George Galloway down on all his platforms, and I'm saying, look, George, have a debate with me. Come and have a debate with me. Let's talk. Because nobody can take away the fact that George Galloway is one of the best rhetoricists you can imagine. He's brilliant.
Oh, yeah, it's very good, yeah.
But he won't come anywhere near me. So I chased him all over his platforms because I knew what he was doing.
It's the subjects. They don't want to address the subjects, do they, at all? When they're in power, I mean, everyone... I was talking to someone the other day, and Farage is going to stop all this. Farage is doing nothing, you know?
Look, I'll tell you what I found about what was going on with the Tory party. So Thatcher ended. There were a massive split in the Conservative Party. Now, Tory, actually, is old. It comes from an Irish term of Catholic bandit. That's what Tory means. So the Tories originally were the Catholic elite here. And they got took over by the Whigs or the Presbyterian Solomons from Scotland. You see, England's been colonised by Scotland since the Civil War. The Templars there were two sides to the Templars. There were the Solomon Templars, or the Jewish, and there was the Christian. And in the battles, once the Templars were being subverted or kicked out, the Solomons went to Scotland, and Edward I were fighting them because they were trying to take over England. And if anybody wants to doubt that, then just consider the fact that when his wife died, Edward I, on her funeral procession to London, he put up 9 crosses. The only one remaining today is Charing Cross. That guy was so Christian, it was unbelievable. Also, the fact that the difference in the Templars is Scotland's obsessed with Jerusalem and Solomon's Temple. It believes it is Jerusalem, and has done since Robert the Bruce, because it were him that brought him over. The Templars in England, they built the Temple Church at London, which is round. And it was in honour of Mary, the mother of Jesus. So there's been a massive there's so much that people don't realise. But England has been a colony of Scotland, or this Venetian banking
Cartel.
syndrome,
Yeah.
since you could say absolutely when they invited William of Orange to come on. And people go about Bill of Rights, this, that. No, what they did with that Bill of Rights and such was move what was common law into parliamentary law. You see, this parliament that we have now began in 1688. And it has absolutely no bearing on all the acts and charters that were created from 1066 and beyond with Alfred. But Alfred didn't create the laws of England. What Alfred did was pull in what already existed here on Albion and reformulated them and called it England. And this was after the occupation of Rome, where the title was Britannia. Now, if you look at your passport today, if you get a new passport off this Johnny-come-lately that is not a monarch of England, it's His Britannic Majesty. You can't get any closer back to the occupation title of Britannia than that.
Yeah. It's, well, again, the facade that they strip away. And again, people are that stressed, as we saw in 2020, people are that stressed, they don't take any notice of what's actually going on. They're prepared to bang pots and pans on the doorstep and just basically clapping their own slavery. Put some TV show on, Love Island or whatever, and forget about the troubles. They're not interested in looking at the facade. That's
because consistently what man has done is give up responsibility for self.
Yes.
Now, you've got to go back. If you really want to know what's going on here, this is the fulfillment of what we were told way back in the day by Samuel in the Bible. So back in them days, the people refused to acknowledge and accept their Heavenly Father. Not God. I hate that word. That word's pathetic. There's thousands of gods everywhere. But the original, if you go back to the gospel, he talks Father. He doesn't say God, he says my Father. The kingdom of my Father is within. So if you're looking for the image of the original creator, he's already in you. He created you in his image. So the more you're projecting outside for an idea of how you should be, the further away you are from the original creator image. Now, when you get into the Hebrew properly, there's been so many misnomers gone on with it's not so much that the doctrine's at fault, it's the interpretations that's the problem. And then back to what I was saying before about how they program that subconscious. Once that program's in the subconscious, you can read that Bible for the rest of your life. But if you haven't attacked that edit that's in your subconscious, you will only ever see, how many times you read it, that edit. Your conscious mind will edit what you're reading to fit in with what you had programmed into you as a kid. That's the way it works. They know that. That's how they operate it. But when you get into the Hebrew original, the Genesis, there's a difference between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. Genesis 1 is the guy that created the earth, the heavens, the plants, the animals, and man. Genesis 2 is a garden in a rectangle gig. And it's not man. Like Genesis 1 is he created man, male and female, created he them. So man doesn't describe the male, it describes what we are. And we're both male and female.
Humankind.
So in this garden that they built on the earth, so it's not the earth, it's nothing to do with Genesis 1. It's a garden and it creates an Adam and a woman. So straight away you've come off the original Genesis. But when you get into the original translation of Genesis in the Hebrew, it's wrong. Because if you were to go to Genesis 1 on this particular translation that we're getting, where it translates it using the second letter Beth, it makes it look like the Elohim created man. When you put Aleph back in the translation, and it translates correctly, the father of the beginnings, as he calls himself, created the Elohim and the earth. So my suggestion would be the Elohim are probably the fallen ones, and we know them as Zeus and all these gods, or Thor and Odin, or whichever culture it comes from, there's this bunch of gods that have power down here, and lots of people are always running around obeying them.
And that's why probably Hollywood's making these films constantly.
Yeah, they're right in there. Those gods are right in there. The Flash, you got the Flash, you got Thor, haven't you? That's
And not that I watch them, but they are constantly remaking these films over and over again.
They're the modern version of the old gods, aren't they?
But back to Samuel. Samuel, if you study that, it's very clear that the people wanted a king. And so the Heavenly Father gave them Saul. And Saul were like, well, I don't want to do this. He said, listen, they're not forsaking you, lad. They're forsaking me. They want a king. Let's give them a king. And then in Samuel, he tells you what's going to happen. And he basically, to paraphrase, he'll start off, he'll want your sons for his army, he'll want your daughters to do his sowing, etc. Then he'll want a tenth of your land, then he'll want a tenth of your stock, until eventually he wants everything. That's exactly where we're at now.
Bloodsuckers.
However, so they created a wall. The big cheese created a wall between him and us because we wanted it. And we know that wall today as statutory law, you might say, as religion. So none of these religions represent the Heavenly Father. They represent the wall. So this is where you get your idea of the King of Kings. And the King of Kings for the last 2,000 years in our gig has been a pope. He's the King of Kings. He doesn't represent the Heavenly Father. He represents the wall between the Heavenly Father and us. Now,
he's like the firewall.
Precisely. Now, when you get back to the man that came and said, you're all fucking stupid and you're all crazy and this is how it is. And he didn't get rid of the wall because that wasn't his job. He came to reinforce the laws it was supposed to be. So he said basically, when he was throwing over the tables, he said, look, you bunch of Johnny-come-latelys, you can't enter my Father's kingdom because you're unclean, but you're blocking people that have shown that they are capable of living in accordance with the original image. And that's why he was getting cross. And this is why he destroyed the second temple, because it was blocking people. So this wall's set up in a manner then by which if you prove yourself worthy spiritually, the key's open. This is why you see keys everywhere with the Vatican. Yeah, the two keys have the Vatican. The third key is the naval, the sea. But as you prove yourself worthy, these keys to the gates open and you can move outside this wall into the realm of the Heavenly Father while you're here. Now they're blocking it again. They're blocking it again, so we're in the same kind of time as they were when they came. Because the unclean have got hold of it again, and they're blocking everybody. But they're blocking everybody for a reason this time, because what they want to do is steal everybody's estate, which is your dominion rights to land. Okay, that's your sovereignty, that's your inherent right as a man. But in order to do that, they've had to turn you into a human, a shade of man. And then they've set up another system to govern that. Now, when you get into the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it's very clear. They say, we knew you before you were born. So when mum, as soon as she's upped off she goes to doctor, midwife, whomever, a notice is sent to the Vatican saying, oh, we've another potential slave here, a citizen. So what happens then is the Vatican go, okay, you are a human, and we are going to afford to you all the rights of person. Now, person, according to Ballantyne's law, is a sea monster. Yeah? So you're not being governed as a man because you're not acting as a man. You're acting as a person. And according to their system, you're a monster. Now, you're also classed as cattle, which is, if you really want to know how they're dealing with you, look at the Agriculture Act. Because you're being treated as though you're cattle. And this can only happen because of that original need for a king, because you couldn't be asked to take responsibility for your life. I mean, think about it. You're given responsibility for your temple, your body, to a doctor. You've given responsibility for your spiritual life to a priest, a vicar, an imam, a rabbi. You've given your power as to your immediate surroundings to a councillor, to an MP. And then you moan about it. What all that's happened is everybody
power your education, everything, haven't you?
Precisely.
Financial, whatever it is, everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Money to a bank that won't let you have it out now without a reason.
Banks, look at bank. This whole system is a banking system. Now, Everybody's getting excited at the fact that Islam's being shoved everywhere. It is. Well, what is Islam? It's a fucking bank. A mosque is a bank. Rich families set up a mosque, right? And this is the worst kind of bank you can imagine. Because that bank, once it's set up, extorts its balance sheet from its community. They don't have a choice but to put in every week. And if it wants to do something big, they have to put big money in. And if they don't, they're ostracised. They're classed as kafir and all this and all that.
All right.
And this comes directly from Muslims, my Muslim friends, who showed me and told me exactly what it means to be a Muslim. They're extorted. So the bank, called the mosque, wraps itself around this emotional garbage called a religion that then fixes people that don't think for themselves and are just believing and running on emotion and no intellect, believe they have to do it. Now, Muslims will say, well, we don't charge interest. It's a much better banking system than yours. Is it? Because that rich family that set up this bank will lend that money to its mates and its employees to expand its capital. Buying houses, buying land, buying etc. It's only expanding the bank's capital. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Because the family on behalf of the Holy See that's been running England since they removed Warwick as the kingmaker. So let me just backtrack. 1066, the family on behalf of the Holy See families, this is the Venetian bankers, that ran England was the Breakspear, House Breakspear. They were needed in China. So they had to do something else here. So what they did is they raised another house called the House Stanley. And the family on behalf of the Holy See that were funding it and moving it was Pallavicini. Now, Pallavicini are a cadet branch of the Farnese. And it would appear, although I can't prove this, that the Farnese are a cadet branch of the Borgia. So this is how powerful these families are. So the Pallavicini removed Warwick as the kingmaker. So we're getting rid of Plantagenets here. We're getting rid of the York lines. They set up the War of the Roses to kill off both the York lines, yours over at Thill, and mine over here in Lancashire. So they got them to do it themselves. They were killing each other left, right and centre. Then what they did is they got the Tudors on the throne. Now, the Tudors are an interesting bunch because there's no evidence at all that they're tied to these lands outside of the propaganda. But Henry VII had an obsession with Arthur, King Arthur stories, and thus his first child, his firstborn, were called Arthur. And obviously Arthur was the one that was supposed to be put on the throne. And the guy were a good guy. Henry was just a little shitbag, unfit to be a king. But he was fit for this other bunch that had manoeuvred the Tudors on the throne for the next phase of the game. So anyway, they murdered Arthur. It's propaganda says he just died, but he didn't. They murdered Arthur. Henry became the king. Now, what they did through Henry, because bearing in mind at this point now, the Holy See has got full control over England again. They created, the Reformation were on. They split the ecclesiastical jurisdiction of Rome, the church, and gave Henry a new one. A new one that would allow them to build an empire that didn't come back to Rome. And they had a lot of Protestants there ready to do that because they were desperate to keep away from Rome. And they were putting themselves into the hands of these PCIs to keep this rebellion going.
Do you think...
So
sorry, Sean, go on.
No, go on.
Do you think there are several groups vying for this power that sometimes work together? Like you'd see the mafiosi get together around a table when they're at war and say, right, we're going to stop all this. We're going to work together on this one project here. Or do you think it's just one group?
It's one group. It's a high table. If you've watched John Wick, the final one that I watched is so perfect. That's exactly how it works. No, they all have their place. They might be fighting between the lower ranks to try and get a bit more power than that one. That's where your battling's going on. But at the top of the tree, no. But the Pallavicini are important because not only did they get Henry on, a new jurisdiction, Church of England, empire being built. At the same time, the Spanish branch of the Holy See were raiding South America and pulling all the gold out. Yeah? So what the Pallavicini did then, when Elizabeth got on the throne, they financed her to build a navy. And specifically so that they could rob these galleons So the British imperialism were being born through changing jurisdiction and financing Elizabeth I to build a navy.
And it's ironic that Elizabeth was the one that set up all the intelligence services, all these things that were pretty modern for the day, weren't they?
Well, it were a Roman gig, and that's what they were implanting on here. But yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right. And then we got so Sir Francis Drake and all these sorts of they were pirates.
Yes.
These guys were robbing the Spanish galleons that were coming over loaded with gold and silver. And this is how England started to become a power. That's what was going on. And then you've also got this that's going on in Scotland between the Solomon Templars and the Christian Templars here. And that's all what Edward I was battling. Robert the Bruce. Now, when David I came on the throne in Scotland, he imported absolutely shitloads of European aristocracy that were directly tied to this Holy See brunch. So Scotland became the centre.
Yeah, and that's why when I do the genealogy on these pop stars and politicians and things like that, they've all got this same line running through them because they're the same people that are putting in power, going back to what you were talking about there, where they implanted the Tudors, for argument's sake, so they do what they say, or they offed Alfred to put Henry in because he probably didn't have the dark side running through him like the need.
No, he didn't. He was a ginger lad. Well, Henry wasn't. In fact, when you get into studying, and don't take this the wrong way, guys.
A lot of gingerism in this podcast.
Well, the original lines here were ginger. They were white gingers.
Yeah.
Because that's our thing.
Not brown and bald.
Henry, as a kid, were classed as black.
Right. Not
Like
brown
John
and bald
O'Gaunt.
then. They weren't brown and bald. Sean.
No.
Fucking hell. That's me.
You could be. You might be. No, it is all bloodline. Everything's bloodline.
What do you mean you were classed as black, Sean?
He was a very dark child. He wasn't in sync with the others. Just in the same way, Edward III. Now, Edward III was the one that collapsed the Lombardy Empire by saying, fuck off, I'm not paying your money back.
Yeah.
But Edward III's kids were all gingers, except John O'Gaunt.
And John O'Gaunt.
The so-called Lancastrian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see how they get these cryptos into these, and it gets missed. And for all accounts, that's exactly what Henry VIII was. Which is why he was a complete lunatic. Now,
a good dresser though.
It's weird. It's weird. I've always thought it was odd how we fire so much attention to these certain people like Henry VIII. I mean, my nipper came home talking about him. Why are we so focused on Henry VIII?
And he had 8 wives.
Them are the times when so much has changed that they have to make sure that all their propaganda is built around it, so you don't actually see
everything else
through it. You know what I mean? Like if you look at any history today, they'll make Edward I look like a twat. Even Mel Gibson. You know, that Braveheart is so full of shit, it's not even historically correct, none of it. But that's what's implanted. Everything makes Edward I look like a twat.
And also, going back to Mel Gibson making that film, when they go and make a film, they'll have a script, obviously, as we all know, and that...
Oh, you've gone off.
Sorry, they'll have a script, and that's what they'll invest in, that script. The investors who are and they'll tell them what to put in. They'll tell them what history they will invest in.
When he were writing that and announcing that he were putting it together, I investigated it. And I found one of the main financiers had been done for child trafficking.
That's a shock.
So I put it on one of his platforms and said, hey, what do you want to do about this? Sly Stallone. He were... Because he'd started putting his family out on all these social media things. And I thought, oh, it was nice, that. And then he put some up there. And I thought, I've heard of them. This company. I had a look. Again, child trafficking. And I thought... So I put on Sly's Facebook. I said, Sly, we love you. But what's this? Never heard another thing. It's like... Over the last 20 years, they've built up these particular celebrities to be classed as outsiders. And, they're all for good and they're rebels. And especially with Mel Gibson. I mean, you're telling me that weren't a complete setup, what happened with him about him slagging off Jews. Of course it were. Because it made everybody believe he were against them. And And then he creeps back. People forget, of course, that the entire arena is run by the same.
Yeah.
You can't get away from it.
And around that time, he made Passion of the Christ, didn't he? Around the similar time when he did that Jewish rant.
Yeah, and then if you follow that through going on about South America, he sort of gives it kudos as to why the Christians had to go in there and massacre everybody.
Yeah. Let's sort it all out.
It's bullshit. Yeah, it's just, but it works because the program everybody's had in Christendom, the program everybody's had in Islamic countries, fixes you to that system. Now, back to what I was saying, because it's important. Palavicini. Guess who runs Sunni Islam?
Wrong.
Palavicini. So, this replacement that's going on here, on England, if the beneficiaries of the banking system that they set up way back, it's still them. They don't care what colour you are, as long as you do as you're told. Now, we haven't been doing what we were told for ages, have we?
No.
White and black. We don't do it.
No.
We have our own thing. I mean, if we didn't need the entertainment industry, we'd have, between us as artists, we'd have so much power. It'd be unbelievable.
Yeah.
The fact that we have to go to these assholes to get it heard. I mean, I've wrote a few tunes lately, banging on about how the next phase of this game is to conscript the white and black males into this new war that they're going, because then who are all the females left with? Now, I've read the Quran. I've read the Hadith. I know exactly what it says. And do you know what's really shocking? 99.9% of all Muslims have never read it. They haven't got a clue what's in it. They're told what's in it by the imams. And this is another important point that I speak to my Muslim friends at any chance I get to give them, and that's this. Muslims don't actually submit to the Quran. They submit to the Sharia law on the assumption that the Sharia law has been built based on the Quran.
And this is sorry. And this is why when people have a go at us for talking about religion, that all religions are control mechanisms, aren't there?
Of course they are.
Every single one of them. It doesn't matter whether it's Muslim, Christian, Judaism, whatever it is. It's a control system.
And this is the distinction people have to start to recognise.
Well, look at what you just explained there, Sean. You only have to go back to the 70s, 80s, and that's the Christian church, isn't it?
Yeah.
The same thing.
Exactly. When I grew up, they used to come out every Sunday, one lot with banners. We're fucking better than you Catholic bastard. Yeah. I mean, it weren't as severe as it were in Ireland.
And the description you gave of the mosque gaining all the money was just the church roof, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a bank, but it's the worst kind of bank. It extorts its balance sheet.
Well, my missus used to work for a bank, and she said some of the churches that banked for them had absolute millions. They're just another version of a charity, aren't they? That another taxation on the population.
Well, look, this is the distinction, Pete. If the people get upset about religion, this is what you need to understand. I was lucky. I never got religion thrust down my neck as a kid. At school, I wouldn't sing the songs because they were shit.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say the prayers because I wouldn't mouth that shit. Didn't make sense to me. So I never took the programme on. So when I come to it fresh, with my own intellect, it means completely different to what everybody's been taught. So what people need to recognise is this. There's the doctrine, and then there's religion's interpretation, which is what religions are. They are an interpretation of things that have value, but in such a way that it serves them. You always need them.
Yes.
And that
also,
program is installed as a kid.
they call
Every morning, what at school? Your name, yes, miss. Cementing the fact that you are
inferior.
the legal title that they created off your estate. But back to what I was saying, because I don't want to lose this. The Palavicini have controlled these isles since the Tudors. They control this new force that's coming in, Sunni Islam as well. So they lose nothing. The Holy See loses nothing. Now, this Noahide Trust is the mechanic by which they're scooping up everything they claim they're owed by our monarchs for the last 1,000 years. Now, in 1933, all our nations went bankrupt after the First World War. And what they did, this is the clever bit, because the kings had nothing to offer, only us, the people, they created a birth certificate, right, which is secondary from the registration.
When did the
of a
birth certificate come in, Sean?
1836.
Right.
So they do everything they work to a much larger plan. Remember, they're working to the Templars were hunting down treasure, and people think gold and silver. Perhaps they were, but the real treasure they were looking for was the systems of control that they knew had been buried in Egypt by the Phoenicians, and the cryptos found it, the Solomons. And it's the banking system, basically, the Babylonian banking system. So that's what they were seeking, and that's exactly what they found. So they're implementing something that's already been. They're not super fantastically intelligent like they claim. But this Noahide Trust, it's got 7 laws.
But when can you say how it's spelled? Is it Noahide? As in
Nohide.
And is hide meant to be the skin? No hide.
It speaks of it references Noah.
Right.
Now, when you get back into Noah, the people despised him when they were gutted when they found out that he'd survived. Because what he actually brought through the flood was the evil shit.
What, not the 2 giraffes and 2 sheep?
I think we're talking genetics, certainly.
Yeah. What do you mean evil shit, Sean?
So he represented the shit show pre-flood.
Right.
Not as people believe. He were
saving everybody. Yeah.
The rainbow story comes from that. This is why you get the rainbow on all this LGBTQ transgender, what they're throwing down the kids. But what it's actually representing, in truth, is the Noahide Trust. And they are taking all our estates, our divine dominion rights, because we're giving it them, into this new trust that they control completely. But this is the kicker. Once it happens, they're going to kill everybody.
It's already in process. That's already in process. Yeah.
Precisely. It's exactly.
I mean, it's quite obvious. I mean, the replacement rates are falling through the floor in indigenous people in the Western world. The only places it hasn't fallen through the floor is in areas where we're getting an influx of people from.
Well, the new system's been based in Kazakhstan. I've wrote a piece on it on my website, actually.
Is that new city with the bloody...
The new city, yeah. And all the religious leaders, financiers have all agreed, the new system, and it's all going to there.
And everybody would actually giggle at that. Kazakhstan, oh yeah, of course it is, because in our lifetime and generation before, what was Kazakhstan? Nothing really,
Well, think about it. Forever, we've never really heard much about what goes on at the other side of Russia.
No.
Ever. And
in fact, they put you off talking about that, put you off even discussing Russia. Russia's a dirty word now, isn't it?
Well, look at Kazakhstan's Borat country, isn't it? Look at Borat was set there to ridicule it.
And he was Jewish.
He's a Jew.
But while that's going on, I mean, that future city in Kazakhstan, I mean, that goes back years and it's empty, isn't it? There's nothing there.
Supposedly.
No one living there.
It's dead. But this is what people don't realise. In the West, they created Israel for a home for Kazakhs, but Stalin actually created a home for them. You see, this Noahide system, the reason why we haven't known anything about it is because this is what they were building in the East. So when the Breakspears had to up and leave this country, they were sent over to China to begin the building of this new system. Now, so back to King of Kings. The Pope hasn't been the King of Kings since Vatican II. That's when the Jesuits completely took over the Vatican. Before that, in 1929, the fascists reformed the Vatican until it wasn't a church anymore. It was a state. Now, they've announced not long ago that they're going to dismantle the Church of England and we'll become citizens of a state that's subordinate to the Vatican state. Now, people still think EU Vatican, it's church. There's no church in the Vatican anymore. Malachi Martin taught everybody that if they were paying attention in the 90s. When he left, he was an advisor to 2 popes, and he made it very clear that the Vatican no longer represented the spiritual aspect of the gospel.
He said it'd been infiltrated, didn't it?
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's gone on a lot longer. The Jesuits, remember, they were kicked out. And then when they were kicked out, Catherine the Great took them in Russia. And Catherine the Great, her family was Anhalt, another massive, powerful family.
Yeah.
She killed Peter III, who, by the way, was the last Romanov. So who these Tsars were after, I don't know. They weren't Romanovs. They've so polluted history. There's a guy called, what's he called? He's a Russian guy. Can't think of his name offhand. But he wrote a series of books quite some time ago saying that what's actually happened with history is they've took an history that something that happened in one country and planted it on another country and mixed it up like that. And then they've added massive chronology time frames. Now, Isaac Newton did the same. Queen Anne commissioned Isaac Newton to look into biblical history and see how it were. And he basically said they're all adding fucking 100 years on to make them look bigger, better, faster. You know what I mean? And it looks like everything's a lot closer. And the one thing that they really do keep out of our mindset is the fact that on this earth, there are massive cataclysms, a lot more than people would believe, all over the shop. Now, if you look at what's happening in China and India at the moment, have you seen the floods and the landslides? It's massive.
But in that global climate warming change,
Well,
that links Africa that you were spraying in 1980,
But they're trying to secure to themselves what's happening naturally as well. Like they're all powerful. Like they're way more powerful than they actually are.
That's how you keep control, though, isn't it?
Of course, it's making yourself look like you're invincible.
Yes, when in reality you're not. You're actually weaker than the other one. It's a big charade, isn't it?
Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Do you think, Sean? I might be wrong here, but I always had a suspicion that these groups of people have just done this over and over again, built up civilization, sacked it all off, then done it again. Maybe just to get the loosh, just to get the evil vibration. Yeah.
I have an interesting interview with the guy who claimed to be the last druid of Ireland on the website. And he goes through its history. Because obviously I studied the druids many, many years ago, and it's very difficult to find anything because they didn't write anything down. You had to learn it.
Is that the Dark Ages?
As an oral.
When they were...
Well, the class is the Dark Ages, but what people don't think is...
it's a piece of missing history, isn't it?
The British Isles was the sort of pinnacle of everything back in them days. All the Roman elites in Europe, the Trojan elites, sent all their offspring here to be educated in the Druid universities.
They'd obviously discovered some secret knowledge that the Druids had.
My belief is that, from my studies of the occult way back in the day, that these cryptos or these PCIs, when they attacked the Druids here, they nicked the program. And the program was the Kabbalah. That was the magical system by which civilization operated. Now, having spoke with a lot of practitioners in both white and dark magic over the years, what we've come to agree is the fact that these bunch, once they'd nicked it, inverted it. But they didn't just invert it left to right, they inverted it top to bottom. Which is why all these magical practitioners, it comes to naught eventually. And it only serves this dark force. Then you've got Sabbatai Zevi and Jacob Frank. Their philosophy was do sin to bring in their Messiah. That got stuck into Islam way back in the day, and then it got stuck into the Catholic Church again way back in the day. This is when you're looking at Abad Lubavitch, the priesthood that's running Trump, Putin, that's been running this place forever. I mean, when you see that image of all these presidents since Reagan, sat there at his table with all these fucking crazy Jewish people there, what they're signing off there is, they call it Education Day, but what they're actually signing off there is that America will educate its children to the Noahide system. That's how long it's been going on. And this Abad Lubavitch, or a representation or a priesthood based entirely in Jacob Frank and Sabbatai Zevi. And it's do sin to bring in the Messiah, so lust, incest, child sacrifice, etc., everything that they do. I have an interesting interview on my website, actually, from Abe Finkelstein. He was a very well-known sort of celebrity Jewish guy. But in this particular interview, in my opinion, and I think it's hard to see it any other way, there's a Christian and then there's Abe, and they're sort of like, this Christian's come on, he wants to do battle. But in truth, the only one being absolutely straight is Abe Finkelstein. And you won't like what he's saying, but he's actually being straight, and he tells you exactly how it is. If you've been eating McDonald's, you've been eating sacrificed babies. They've just done that advert on telly with KFC.
Yeah.
That's telegraphing, saying, we are now putting this shit in your KFC. If you're going to carry on eating it, we've told you. And you look at the McDonald's early advertisements, and it would always Ronald McDonald when you were a little kid.
How could you trust that advert? I mean, I never.
It's telegraphing. They have now told, because not only did it show them dip a guy in a thing and come out as a chicken leg, there was another one, the KFC one, where it was a satanic ritual.
Mm.
And she went, well, silence. They're telling you that not only are they putting human babies and sacrifice victims in KFC, these are people that have gone through satanic ritual. They're telling you. See, and that's what people don't understand about telegraphing. In spiritual law, as long as they tell you what they're going to do, if you don't rebut it, i.e. by either not doing it or fighting it, it carries. And this is back down to that wall built by Saul, the king wall. It's so obtuse, so inverted on the real creation, the disgraceful stuff it has to do to keep itself alive, the world. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And as Theosophy taught us, what we've been witnessing in the last 150 years is the externalization of this hierarchy of the world so that we get to see it, so we accept it. Because this Noahide system, it has to be consensual. And Donald Trump, this is the key. Donald Trump, in the eyes of this elite, this Russian elite that run Israel, because there's not a Jew in it, they're all Russians, Bolsheviks. They have minted coins on Trump. This is when he were in power before, as King Cyrus. Well, who's King Cyrus? A bit like William of Orange. He was a warlord, started the Achaemenid Empire, and as they were taking over Babylon, there was a group called the Medes that had a big input in Babylon, and they were obviously a good bunch. They had got to a point where they just needed to finish off the aristocracy in Babylon, so they invited King Cyrus in to rule it. At that particular time, the 600,000 or so captives of Judahites were in Babylon. They'd been in there for, 60 years. Now, what Cyrus did, he emancipated them back to the Levant to build that very second temple that the man Jesus came to destroy. So that temple, the second temple, was a Babylonian temple. And it was King Cyrus that commissioned it, and I think it was Darius that finished it off. So the second temple that Jesus came to decry was a Babylonian institution. And that's exactly what's running us again today. So Trump, having now been cited as the emancipator of this system again, there you go. There you know who he is.
Is that why he's saying it's going to be a new golden age?
Exactly. For them, not us.
Yeah, not us. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I think we're all clear on that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you understand this legal system and how disgusting it is, when you get into the 7 Noahide laws, the first... So they're trying to say that the 10 commandments are garbage, you don't need them anymore. Here's the better ones, these are the real ones, and there's only 7. Well, nobody in power gives away 3 laws, do they? That gives them power. No. That's because the 7th law in this Noahide thing, because the 6 don't sound bad, you'd accept them. But
I did read these recently, actually, Sean.
The 7th one is that they have to install a legal system across the world. That's what this legal system is. You're a person, you're a human, you're an animal. You're going to be killed. It's as simple as that. That's why the 7th law is so horrendous.
What were the other 6, briefly, if you know?
Offhand, I can't remember, because I got into this about 7 years ago, and it was the first I'd ever heard of it.
That's where I'd heard of it recently I'm saying recently, last year or so. I remember reading the 7 Noahide.
I've had a lot of trouble. Since I started working with the Jewish people, actually, that began to expose this, I had a lot of trouble. I got set up pretty badly, and yeah, I lost my house and everything in there. It wasn't good, but that just made me think, oh, all right, I'm on the right track. Let's do more.
But when you say it wasn't good, is there any? Can you go into more detail on that? What caused you to have all that trouble by looking into this information?
Because at that time, it wasn't known by anybody.
Right.
Only, right, now, there's a difference between the Scottish Rite Freemasonry and the York Rite. York Rite, you had to be a Christian. Scottish Rite will have anybody and his dog. Unfortunately, it's the Scottish Rite Freemason that runs America.
Mm.
Most of the Masons in America are Scottish Rite. This is the Solomons in Scotland. The 21st degree Prussian Knight in the Scottish Rite is a Noahide judge. That's what he is. So it's the 21st degree Scottish Rite Freemasonry that's been pushing in this Noahide system for about 250 years. Now, there were a major schism come about in Freemasonry back in the day where it was being made clear that Noah had absolutely no bearing at all on any of the Masonic rites ever. That it was being pushed in as an invention by these Solomons. And so that's what's happened. And the fact that most of our... I mean, the 60s, look at the 60s, LSD everywhere. The war generation, the generation that were born in the war, already born in a trauma.
Mm.
It's that generation that's filled these secret societies and given them the power they've got. Mm. But it began in 1880, when they started a massive influx from the pogroms in Russia into America and here. Now here, it was stopped only by an act of parliament in 1915. Now, what appears to have happened is Edward VII. Now, I've just been living in a place for the last 2 years where Edward VII, while he was the Prince of Wales, used to come every Thursday because he was banging two sisters. So I've spent 2 years in that house getting that energy. It's interesting when you just let go
Nice.
how the universe puts you where you need to be.
Yeah.
Now, he has been cited as the architect of the First World War, i.e. putting it into place. Obviously, Albert Pike put it together. But he was the architect of pulling it together. Winston Churchill at that time used to mock him because he had three Jewish elites around him, the Sassoons, the Dangor, and the Kadori.
Each Sassoons of them were the Rothschilds of the East, weren't they?
Well, exactly. They were building the Exarch in the East, that not this Noahide system. So the King of Kings is shifted from a Pope to an Exarch. The current Exarch is David Dangor, tied to the Sassoons and this Kaduri bunch. Now, they were around Edward VII, and Winston Churchill used to mock him by saying they're his Jewish pets. That's what Winston Churchill used to speak like with that. Now, apparently, Edward VII changed the mandate of Freemasonry. So this is before the First World War. Got Kitchener to do this. So that instead of it upholding England, it were upholding the then coming Israel. Now, do you know that in 1940, the War Cabinet in this country handed over the New World Order to the Jews?
Well, I just thought that were a pretty...
They did. The War Cabinet here. The War Cabinet here were unelected. Lord Milner's group, Round Table, Cecil Rhodes, or Rothschilds. So the minute the First World War kicked off, they created the War Cabinet. They were running this place. Now, we have a guy in Parliament called the Remembrancer. And he operates for the inner city of London. And every morning before Parliament opens, he comes in through the door and asks the Speaker, "Are we at war?" And the Speaker responds, "We are." We are still being run under the War Cabinet as an occupied land. That's what's happening, and it's what's been happening for a long time. We've been under occupation.
Isn't a similar thing happening in the States as well? That they are still under war, a war footing.
They're a colony of the British Empire still. The United States of America. You see, when you get into law, that sovereignty side I was talking about before, where we handed over our sovereignty to the monarch to govern within the common law, which is all the law before 1688, by the way. This Parliament had no play in creating that law, therefore it can't change it. This is why William of Orange and they created Bill of Rights and Coronation Act, etc., to pull in what was already existent common law into statutory law that the government could then play with. Yeah. So if you're claiming common law, it's everything before 1688. But you don't even really want to be doing that. The real problem we've got today is you as a man is equity. Your sovereignty and your estate is the equity. So it's all your ancestral land rights, everything we've built here, going way back. That's your estate, basically. They've converted that into a credit and debt system. So we had the monarch held our sovereignty. They created a trust corporation called the United Kingdom. And so now everybody's operating and being administered as a person in that trust administration. In
When
America,
did they start calling Great Britain the United Kingdom?
yeah, Act of Union 1707.
Right.
That's when Scotland colonised completely England. So everything that England's got the blame for since 1707 is not. It's Scotland. Now, I'm not talking about Scottish people.
Mm.
I'm talking about the elite that were brought in by Robert the Bruce, the Templars, and then David the First. And they've got all Scottish names. They were kilts, but they're not Scottish. They killed all the Scottish, all the Highlanders.
I can't name how many folk in your genealogy file that have gone back to Robert the Bruce.
Oh, no. I know.
Loads
of them.
Yeah. Scottish noblemen, there's loads, isn't there?
Mm. Even people like Joanna Lumley, people like that from the memory.
Lumley's are aristocratic. Look, it's back to what we said before. It's all about bloodline. Now, I'm rhesus negative. And obviously, it's important to them.
But also, it's important that just because you're my father-in-law's rhesus negative as well, strange things happen to him, right? Out of his control or whatever. I remember him going to Tesco's or a supermarket, it might have been Morrison's, paying with a £50 note because he only likes paying in cash. And they gave him £80 change. And he thought, fuck it, I'm going to try it next week. And they did the same thing. And it's like, if these things happen to, if he goes to book an hotel, he gets upgraded. He don't even ask to get upgraded. Him and his wife just get upgraded. I'll go to the same hotel and I'll get shittest room. It's a strange phenomenon when you watch him. It's like he glides through life, but he isn't the dark side. If you get my drift, because I think some of these bloodlines, like your blood, say the rhesus negative, there's another thing to it, isn't there? As in, there might be a micro bloodline within there. If you get me drift,
they're terrified of the rhesus negative.
Yeah,
because we didn't get the corruption back in the day.
Mm.
With it, like you could call us either the Neanderthals or that. We didn't get.
But isn't there a rhesus? There's a rhesus positive, rhesus negative, and rhesus. Oh, what's it called? Null or something like that. Neutral. There's about known 45 people with that type of blood group in the world.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, there's like a rhesus null or something like that. Blood.
I don't even know what blood type I am.
Yeah, but there's also micro blood groups within the main ones, isn't there? You know, because obviously you haven't just got an A. You might have a crossover between A and B. So
it's important to them in probably ways we don't understand. But
yes,
you see, they just expected me to join it. That's the thing. And obviously, I did the mystery school in the 90s. But to be frank,
they won't like that either, Sean, because you're learning their ways.
Well, the thing is, this is the thing. Obviously, as a youngster, being a bit of a bugger, and I was a musician, I were always
a rebel.
Everybody wanted, I was like a bit of a leader kind of a guy, and I were always full of adventure. I weren't a bad guy, but if I wanted to do something, we'd do it. If someone said keep it, we wanted to know why, so we'd go. It was like that. So not everybody were allowed to play with me, but they did anyway. If you get what I'm saying, it was that kind of a character. So they were following that and watching that, but. There were one summer, I think, when I got to about 13, where I went a bit off track. And I sort of did some things I'm not proud of. But I made it right because I learned from it and never did it again. But obviously they're picking all this. They're watching all this. So they assumed that I were perfect for not going into lodges the front way. They were teaching me the occult. So I entered the mystery school. So they were teaching me the occult side of things. How everything's controlled, basically. Now, about a year in, because I was married then, and I had kids, and it was a bit awkward that way. But I said to Mrs., I said, look, anybody that believes this shit is a dick. I said, it's rubbish. I said, it's playing on your ego all the time. You're this bloodline, or money. Or you can have as many women. We're all playing on the sort of desire, ego side of things. And I said, I don't know what to do. She said, well, whatever you want to do, we'll go with it. So anyway, I had to think about it. I said, well, I'll tell you what, fuck it, we'll carry on. So I did, and it was a 7-year gig. But from that point on, I was looking at it all with different eyes. So instead of following the program, I was seeing through the program. So when it got to the end of it, instead of joining them, I exposed them. Oh, there were fucking heart attacks going on everywhere. And I exposed the racism that had been created at my old school, because my daughters were there as well. You had Sky TV, every television company in the world at this school. But they'd set it up, because what I found out what they were doing, they were hiring it to the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Masons at night. And they were doing ritual, pulling in demonic stuff, and it were hitting kids. But more importantly, at the LEA, the Education Agency, they were making sure only kids were sent to that school from Muslims and white kids whose kids were tied to gangster parents, in the hope that when it kicked off, it went crazy. So they'd spent all that time with that. I blew it out of water. The day I did it, there weren't a single news agency there ever again. And so that's what started me off. And well, obviously they were giving me death threats and all sorts. And I'm like, yeah, piss off. Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. I said, oh, it does. I'll do what I want, but you have to catch me on blah, 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 blah. And then I took Queen to court. Now, that really got me in a lot of trouble. Because I've been studying constitutional law, and I started to realise that she weren't doing her job properly. And then I'd realised that all these people were trapped in that because they'd taken an oath. Because I took an oath when I joined military as well, and I thought, well, where do I go with that? So I'd sort of proved to myself that that oath was void because she weren't operating correctly. So I was putting this together, trying to say to everybody, look, this oath's garbage. You don't need to follow this. And so I brought a court case against her. Oof. Now, that changed things. That were a bloody hell. But, you know, there were so many people on side that were involved in courts, judges and people like that. But unfortunately, back then, I had
They were on your side, Sean, sorry. They were on your side. They were on your side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they understood what I was doing and why I was doing it. All the oaths would have been off. They wouldn't have had to follow it. Unfortunately, at the time, I had just too much gusto and not enough knowledge. Anyway, it was a D notice put on it and everything, so you can't find the case anymore or anything like that. They got into my computer, the bastards, took the whole case out of my computer. It was ridiculous. Honestly. It's been an hell of an adventure, I have to say, but they really knocked me off the game about 2014, which were about the same time I'd started pushing this Noahide stuff. They really didn't want that letting out. But it weren't me that started it. It was a Jewish couple from America that started it. And I looked at it. Because I'd always been searching for what's the end game of what they're doing. Because I had a massive picture of the game. But it still didn't work. I couldn't understand what the end game were. So when I started to understand what they were saying, I knew what the end game were. So I had no choice but to move with it, you know what I mean? And so they weren't having that.
I mean, if everyone, not everybody listening, but the greater population, none of these people realise what they're actually signing themselves and their children up to. And I'm not saying we're going to escape any of this because we're drawn into this whether we like it all or not. In 2020, we were locked down, weren't we? You know, whether we liked it or not, we were all locked down. We might have gone about as our own business, but you couldn't do what you were doing prior to that because everything were closed.
It was a turning point for me because obviously, as you know yourselves, when you start to understand these things that are not as they seem, you have this move to evangelize.
Yes.
You have this need to tell people.
Don't would never do that.
No, I didn't do that, no.
Did you not?
No,
I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe it. But I have to say, 2020 were a game changer for me because then I realised just the severity of the situation.
Well, I think Chris has mentioned this, Sean. What 2020 did for people like us and people listening was realise that all the stuff that we'd thought prior to it was real.
And more.
That was them opening the curtains on Wizard of Oz and saying, look what's behind here. You're right. You've been right for the last 20 odd years, 30 years, lads.
I knew it was right when I was in mystery school.
Yeah.
It
Well, we
no,
sort of,
what it showed me were how how downtrodden the population
And that as well, yes, and that as well. Yeah,
and the evangelizing ended for me.
it did me as well. I stopped it. You know,
Me
I
too.
stopped.
Even
Yeah.
even though I did it less than done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
won't
used to be full on American fucking evangelistic fucking preacher man,
Yeah.
and 2020 hit, and I remember one of my neighbours. Well, he's not a neighbour; he lives down in Valley, and I walked past him in 2020 when people were out walking, and I was going out walking when I wanted, and I went over to give him a hug. I said, "Come here, give me a hug," and he said, "Get away from me! I don't want that." And I said, "Are you out of your mind, man? You know, do you really believe all this?" And he had a right go at me, and I thought, do you know what? It's not even worth it. Yeah, fuck off. But it's not.
know.
It's not worth it because I'm going to scare him. I'm scaring him.
I know. I was
I'm
doing
not
a job
helping
last.
the situation.
I was doing a job for a guy last year. He's quite high up with BAE Systems. Obviously, he's a Mason, but he's my brother's wife's sister.
We're not allowed to know Masons, Sean, in our world. You know.
I know a lot of them, honestly. I do.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is the point. You see, you're surrounded by all this stuff, whether we like it or not, aren't we? You know, we're using this technology now that's owned by this fucking demonic enterprise. You know, we still use it all, don't we?
They do listen to me though.
Yeah.
They do listen. They're not. I think some might be turning, but I don't know whether. I don't know. But honestly, it's
a slow burn if it
then,
is.
I was working for this guy last year, and it was red hot. And he come on this one day, and he was full of snivels, and he looked terrible. I'm like, what the bloody hell's up with you? He said, I've got COVID. I said, well, haven't you done the deed? Like, I said, how many have you had? He said, like 5. I said, well, aren't you supposed to not get it anymore? You know what he said to me?
He'd have been dead.
No, I think you're a super carrier. I'm like, I said, you fucking joking?
He's trying to blame you.
I said, no, you're free, but he believed it.
Yeah.
I think you're a super carrier. I'm like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
These people are brain dead. And I just thought...
Do you know, thinking, when you're on about, we were talking about the reveal in 2020, but then, you know, going back to that KFC ad, that's part of it as well, isn't it? Like you were on about, show, because that is, I mean, we've all watched videos that look satanic and all that, but that is so fucking blatant, isn't it? Like they're human in the meat. And it's so blatant. And like, there was
I haven't seen that advert, to be honest. I don't watch TV, do I? So I haven't seen it.
There was quite a backlash to that advert, but like Sean said, they made another one and then another one. And
But it doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter.
Recently, and it was just if you're advertising food, there's certain techniques in it to make it look nice. And even just the picture of the burger they showed was like, ugh, you know, it looked like something from a horror film.
Yeah.
And they're advertising food. I mean, it goes against any kind of food advertising that. What I'm trying to say is that the reveal at the moment, even after 2020, and you know the stuff going on with Israel, it's so blatant, isn't it? It's so. Is it, or have we just learned something new? I don't know.
But... No, it is because the people are so off the wall.
Yeah.
That it's not registering. I
mean, look at what Parliament is now. I mean, whether we all realise that it's a fixed game, but all it's Labour. The Labour government is the biggest woke government in the world. There's more gay people in it and LGBT and trans people than any other government in the world, I think.
Well, the Bolsheviks, aren't
they? But what's going to happen there is they're going to make totally different. Whatever decision-making process, I look at the government in power are like a board of directors, aren't they, of what we've just been talking about.
It's actually the cabinet.
Yes, the cabinet is the board of directors.
In the absence of the king, the Privy Council rules. We haven't got a king. England doesn't have a king. If you go back to his oath, he oathed to uphold the Church of Scotland. That's the Presbyterians. They're dismantling the Church of England. England's not even in it.
So when these people are voted in, they are put in place in areas like that, they're making decisions based on what these people behind them, their advisors, if you like, who are part of. When you look at the advisors are the ones that are in power or given power.
Civil servant, Whitehall.
Yeah.
So I've just been working with a couple on this council tax, and so I ended up sending one to the Chancery, and then I sent one to. Instead of when it comes to the Treasury, the first Lord of the Treasury is the Prime Minister, the second is the Chancellor, and I thought, I'm not sending it to them. Who's at back of them that's not left his job for like 30 years? Permanent secretary to the Treasury.
Yeah.
He's been there forever. So I sent it to him. Because he's the one telling them like what to do.
Yeah.
On behalf of Bank of England.
Yeah. And he's got, whatever we want to think, whether he's got a political allegiance or not, they don't. If he's a Conservative, the Labour lot don't get rid of him. And if he's a Labour, the Conservatives don't get rid of him.
He's Crown. He's City of London. He's a Bar Guild City of London associate.
Going back to the popes, there's a black and a grey pope, isn't there? Am I right there?
So the black pope has always been class. You see, I'm not so sure about this grey pope idea. I've never found any evidence for it. The black pope was the name they used to give to the head of the Jesuits, the Catholics themselves.
Okay.
Because of the power he wielded. The Jesuits are crypto-Jews. It was set up by crypto-Jews, and the elite have always been that.
Isn't it strange that cryptocurrency is the thing that's coming in?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, but it's like we said at the beginning. People are just they've given away full responsibility for self. I mean, look what they did. It's bad enough that they took the gig themselves, but they did it to their offspring.
Yes. Yeah.
There is no coming back from that.
No.
There's no excuse. Your ignorance is not an excuse, unfortunately.
No. And sadly, in some ways, not knowing, you could say, is better than what the knowledge that we cart around with us and the people listening, because that knowledge can weigh quite heavy at times, can't it?
It does.
Hence why we become
heavy
bloody.
art, isn't it? It's a very heavy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I mean,
I still drive it now.
Yeah, I still drive it now as well. Yeah.
But you're right. How can you have a happy heart when you know this stuff? You can't, because it's a burden, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'd rather know.
Yeah. And I find it quite, I don't know why, but I find it quite interesting researching and lifting rocks up and finding things that need to be shown daylight as well. Like I'm sure you do as well.
Not as much as I used to do, I have to say. What I'm focused to now is gaining control of my estate. And it's been a long journey, but I can see it now.
Yeah.
We're nearly there. And, yeah. So, yeah, it's worth it. I mean, I've given up 3 times that I can remember where I've been offered you want to go and be a pop star? Come on, son.
Yeah.
You know, and I've let it go to pursue this.
Well, I still have businesses, but I got out of my big businesses because I used to think to myself, in the 2000s, I used to think, if this is all I've got to offer, what I'm doing now, then I've not really got anything to offer. Because how much do you actually need?
It's got to resonate with your soul.
It has. Moralistically, it's got to resonate with what you do. But anyway, should we call it a day there? And
we can always continue another time.
Yes, too right. We shall continue another time.
Can I just ask you a question? Do you know anybody that can record like a conference?
A record? Do you know what? Well, we're going to talk about this actually. You came. Reason we're in this situation now where you're here is because we met you at our live event in at Huddersfield, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we were just talking about how them people there were so open-minded and knowledgeable, and great to talk with. Yeah, the energy was
yeah. To just be around people where you didn't have to explain anything.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good.
It was absolutely. It was great, you know.
You don't have to second guess their opinion, do you? Really?
No, you just got straight into conversation.
Yeah. And not everybody knew everything that you knew, but that wasn't the point, were it? Neither. That was the good part of it.
And I'll tell you what I really liked. That first one that I came to of yours, what appeared to be, I think, 2 brothers and their wives, and they were definitely upper middle class. And they came to talk to me, and we were talking for quite a while. And I'd said that we have to be careful now because the new game is toxic masculinity. And one of them said to me, well, he said, our boys are at all boys school, grammar schools. And I thought, oh, good. And he said they tried to bring one of them idiots in and the males laughed it out of this classroom. Yeah. And I thought, well, if the educated are seeing this, we have a chance because the working class are seeing nothing.
And this is the argument I have with people. People will put comments on us saying somebody's such a toff, or somebody's this, or somebody's that. And a lot of people think it's a working class movement. They don't realise it's a spiritual movement. That you could be whatever, a billionaire, a lord, or whatever, and have a revelation, and you realise this, and there's no going back from that.
No,
Well, I think our live shows, we get people from all walks of life there. That's, I mean, one of the good things about it. And
Humpty Dumpty.
yeah.
Once you fall off that fence and break that egg, you never. All the king's horses and all the king's men ain't putting you back together.
No, they're not.
It's not happening, is it?
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. And that is one of the good things about that is meeting so many people that are of a like mind. Sadly, that most of them are our age group. That's the sad thing. There's no young. There were only a few younger. I think the second one there were quite a few younger people there, but you're talking 30s, not 20s type of thing. But it's good to see that the people there are open-minded.
The problem with our generation, Generation X, is that we brought ourselves up basically, didn't we? Because fruitcakes, 60s lot.
Yeah.
And we learned quickly to keep out of other people's business.
Yeah.
And so we don't get excited by what's going on around us necessarily until we do. And then that X factor, hopefully, is going to come into play. Yeah. Because the next game that's on the table, and this is the game, is to conscript the white and black males here. And leave all the females to this.
The indigenous population.
But I don't think they'll be able to conscript today's youth, Sean.
Well, they might not be able to conscript them and turn them into soldiers, but they can do what they did in the Third Reich and slaughter them.
Or they could create a war between the people in hotels and the people outside waving Union Jacks.
Well, Union Jack, for God's sake. I mean, that's British Empire. What do you think's brought all these immigrants here?
I said that. Empire. Do you know what? I said that to somebody yesterday. I said, if you're cheering on the British Empire, i.e., you're still cheering on the system, the City of London. You're still cheering on all this nonsense.
Well,
so,
of course.
Going back to the good old days, they weren't actually good old days. World War I weren't the good old days. World War II weren't the good old days.
They were poverty-stricken here.
Yeah.
From the time Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
I mean, to get the Industrial Revolution going here and change the idea of what Christianity was here, they had to invent a program called Methodism. And that's another interesting point. When I looked into the dinosaurs, because I've always known that it's false, it's garbage.
Damn.
all the dinosaur finds of old every single one were a Methodist vicar. Yeah. And on that bombshell.
Yeah. Do you mean my dinosaur tooth that I bought at Wood House isn't real?
It's a fib.
In 1977 on our school trip. All right. On that note, if you're joining us in part 2, we'll see you there. If you're not, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.